again, doing some more reacting. I've reacted to plenty of music. I'm going to do some reacting to another history video. Yes, someone actually asked me to do the history of India. So I've looked for a video for a history of India. It's a 14-minute long video. So it's quite a long video. It's on a channel called VC3 Productions. The link will be down below. If you enjoy these kind of videos, make sure you go and sub up their channel. And yeah, I'm going to have a quick watch of it and see what I think. Right, so India, I know there's going to be probably a lot about the English rule there. There was part of the British Empire for quite a long time. We probably we messed up a few things when we went over there, but I know it's got a massively long history, India, hasn't it? All the Rajas and the plenty of wars, and the oldest religion is from India, isn't it? The Hinduism, I think that's the oldest religion. Some of the oldest religious texts, the Bhagavad Gita, is it, or something like that? Yeah. I don't know, the Vedas. I'm going to watch it. And find out. Right, let's find the video. Hopefully it doesn't break up annoyingly, which it can sometimes do. Right, let me see if I can find it. So it's History of India in 14 minutes. Let's see what this is like, huh?
A country that has geological jewels and culture. It is the birthplace of one of the oldest religions and is rising rapidly to become a world force in trade and commerce. From ancient monuments and lavish palaces, from great wealth to poverty, a country that has witnessed a turbulent history of war, famine, and extremes of weather. This is the history of India.
Cool. History of India. Yeah. Bollywood, that's another thing to mention. Is it the largest film industry in the world in Bollywood, as it's called? It's like it's the Indian equivalent of Hollywood. They make all the masses of musicals there and loads of crazy action movies. I've got a friend's channel called Nerd Safari. They do lots of reactions to Indian movies, and there's some crazy ones, like well over the top, like action and like massive dance scenes and all that kind of thing. They have a very active film industry. What else did I just listen to there? Oh, can't remember what they said now. So about weather extremes, did they say? God, it's terrible, and I've forgotten already what I've just heard. Let's just carry on playing it. I'm sure it was something I wanted to mention. I've forgotten already what it was. Let's just carry on playing it. Right, I'm going to clip out a little bit there because this video has got like paid adverts in it as well. He's doing a promotion for a company called Skillshare. If you go and watch the original video, the link is down below. It will tell you about this Skillshare, and he'll get some ad revenue probably if you sign up for it, if you're interested in that kind of thing. It's like a paid promotion. Yeah, it sounds interesting. I won't be paying for it though because I can't afford it. I try to get my own promotion. I try to get my own ad revenue, but who knows? If the channel takes off, maybe I can go to Skillshare and buy some courses. But let's just carry on with the history.
In the region surrounding the Indus Valley River, a civilization emerged. The Indus Valley, otherwise known as the Harappa civilization. Archaeologists have discovered over 1,500 sites, the largest cities being Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. These cities had urban planning, elaborate baked brick buildings, and sanitation systems. They conducted trade with the Sumerian civilizations of Mesopotamia and had a writing system that remains undeciphered. Archaeologists have uncovered that this great civilization housed urban planning and commercial enterprise, but it slowly fell into decline and ultimately disappeared. After the
Yeah, a lot of civilizations do. They always talk about empires having like a time limit, don't they? Empires rise and fall. The British Empire, the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire probably, and the Sumerian and that Harappa, whatever it is. They do say there's sort of natural limits to these things somehow. But yeah.
Indus Valley cities were abandoned. There was a migration of Indo-Aryans into the Indian subcontinent. These migrants were known to introduce the ancient religious texts, known as the Vedas, which were to define religious truth for Hindus. The Vedic period flourished from 1500 BC to 500 BC. It was also around this time that the caste system was developed. The caste system, which was a class system determined by birth, created a hierarchy of Brahmins, or priests, Kshatriyas, or warriors and kings. Next came the Vasaiyas, or skilled workers and merchants, and then finally the Sutras, or labourers, farmers and unskilled workers.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I forgot about the caste system. Yeah, that's been going there since 500 BC. Is that? Wow, that is some history. Yeah, because the caste, I'm not sure if the caste system is still adhered to that well. It's kind of one of those things that they're probably trying to get behind them now. But yeah, I know the caste system. It's like whatever family you were born into. You think like the British system. You got like the upper class, the posh people, the rich people, the middle classes, and the working classes. But their systems are completely and utterly. They were completely rigid, and like no one from one caste could marry from another caste. That kind of thing. At least I'm pretty sure that's what the case was. But how much that system is still in place now, I don't know. But the only one of those castes I've actually heard of was the Brahmins. Brahmins I've heard of. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I mean, like silly things like I'm sure. I know the wrestler, The Rock, calls himself the Brahmin bald, and I think he does. And also, there's an animal called Brahmin in Fallout 4, which is like a two-headed cow. They could call Brahmin. I don't think they'd appreciate that. But anyway, let's move on with some more history.
Towards the end of this period, the Aryans spread from the Punjab region to the Ganges River, where several kingdoms formed. The Nanda Empire subjugated the surrounding kingdoms, but would soon be overthrown by Chandragupta. After his conquests, Chandragupta encountered Seleucus, a general of Alexander the Great, who had established an empire for himself. A peace treaty was signed, with intermarriage between the royal families and a gift of 500 elephants. Chandragupta's grandson, Ashoka, expanded the Mauryan Empire and waged a great war against the state of Kalinga, killing 100,000 soldiers on both sides.
I've actually remembered. I listened to podcasts a fair bit, and I actually was listening to the History of India podcast. So that guy Ashoka, I have heard that name before. I have heard that one, but yeah, a lot of it I don't remember now what I listened to. But a lot of it was like history so old that it's half myth and half reality, you know. Some of the stuff, you know, because like the history wasn't like it is nowadays, where it's like properly written down. It could be subject to like exaggeration and propaganda and that kind of thing. So a king would win a battle, and his historians or his people of the day would say, "Oh, the king killed 500 people on his own." You know, not quite like that, but that kind of thing. They would exaggerate and embellish to make the king sound better. You know, so a lot of history isn't necessarily true, and I think this far back a lot of it is you know, open to interpretation maybe or possibly. Yeah, don't quote me on that because I'm not a historian whatsoever. But yeah, I remember hearing about Ashoka. That name I've heard before, and I know that there was plenty, like any civilization, war, battling, you know, trying to take what's not yours, trying to claim land that, you know, isn't necessarily yours. That's still going on today, unfortunately.
Following his conquest, Ashoka became a devout follower of the Buddha's teachings. For the rest of his 36-year reign, Ashoka took a vow of non-violence and spread Buddhism throughout his realm. However, 50 years after his death, the subcontinent fractured into multiple kingdoms once more. Meanwhile, the south of India was controlled by the Tamil kings, who reigned over 3 states. Disagreements were rife, and war was frequently waged against each other, but they excelled in trade. It was between the 4th and 5th century AD that India was widely acknowledged to have entered a golden age. With the rise of the Gupta Empire, a period of invention and discovery in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, astronomy, art, and literature was born. All these fields saw an explosion of understanding and knowledge and set the marker for the world to follow. It is also believed the game chess was invented in this period. Following the collapse of the Gupta Empire, there followed centuries of multiple kingdoms and dynasties that...
See another empire collapsing. These things are finite. They seem like they're gonna last forever, but they never do. There's some kind of social, political like reasons for this. But no empire has lasted forever. I suppose it's a matter of time, isn't it? If anything, I mean, seeing some videos, some saying, "Oh, the American empire is going to collapse soon," but I don't think it's going to be. I don't know. It's not really an empire, is it? It's just like a country. But yeah, let's just carry on with this.
Rose and ultimately fell. However, in the 10th century, King Raja Atar was successful in uniting the southern kingdoms under one leadership. The Chola Empire, under this king, expanded further and built one of the largest Hindu temples within India dedicated to the god Shiva. This empire
Shiva, yeah, one of the gods. I know. I did a bit about the gods because I do a heavy metal podcast. I did do a bit about various gods from different countries, and you got oh god, I can't remember the names of them now. Yeah, Shiva is like a goddess of destruction. She's like depicted as stamping on men's skulls, like holding like cut off heads, knife in one hand, chopped off heads in another hand. I think she's got 3 heads, and one of her black tongue is poking out. I seem to remember, and I can't remember the blinking name of the male gods. You got the Ganesha, the elephant-headed god. Not Brahmin. Brahmin is the name of the Shiva. No, I just said Shiva. Oh man, I can't. Anyway, let's just carry on playing. But yeah, I was just going to comment as well. This is around about the time 1035. It's not far off when England were having the Battle of Hastings, 1066. So the Normans were invading England and defeating the Saxons about 31 years after this happened. So fights all over the world.
Empire, with a centralized government, created unique architecture and boasted naval skills that spread their influence throughout Southeast Asia. It was in the 11th century that the Ghaznavids of Turkic Mamluk origin overran the North Indian plains, using swift horse cavalry and vast armies, united by ethnicity and religion. Eventually, the Muslim army broke up and led to the establishment of the Islamic Delhi Sultanate. It was the beginning of an Indo-Muslim fusion of cultures. The Sultanate was to control much of northern India and would make incursions into South India, and they successfully repelled the Mongol invasions. However, internal instability and Hindu reconquest resulted in the decline of the Sultanate, and new Muslim sultanates splintered from the empire. India and the Roman Empire had liaised with each other since as early as 30 BC. This connection was mainly through merchants and trade. However, with the collapse of the Roman Empire, contact between India and Europe was all but lost. During the 15th century, Portugal, dedicated to shipbuilding and exploration, sent explorers to sail down the coast of Africa. Vasco da Gama subsequently discovered a new sea route to India. He met with the Zumarin of Calicut, who granted permission to trade. Following successful trade expeditions, the Portuguese soon set up trading posts in Goa, Calicut, Colombo, Cochin, Bombay, and many more, largely through conquest and diplomacy.
Yeah, they've got quite a lot, because I used to work with a guy and his name was Joachim, like a Portuguese name, but he was from India. But then that part of India, I think it was from Goa, they've got a very big Portuguese, like he's a Christian as well. So the Christian influence of the Portuguese has like affected, it's taken root in some places of India. Does it make sense? People go there and they probably settle there, maybe like breed there or whatever, and they raise and like teach maybe the locals, and this is our religion, you should follow our religion, that kind of thing. So they probably converted some, and probably the names of the Filipino names, like the guy's name was Joaquim Vaz, which I think is, I'm not sure if Vaz is a Portuguese name as well. I think it may be, I'm not too sure, but Joaquim was definitely a Filipino kind of Filipino. Shut up. Portuguese. What am I saying Filipino for? A Portuguese name. So that's interesting. So the Portuguese were the first ones to go and trade there.
As trading posts and forts expanded, disagreements were rife between the Portuguese and their Muslim rivals. The Mughals, who were an Islamic empire, had successfully campaigned to dominate India. Muhammad Babur was the founder of the Mughal Empire and was himself a descendant of Emperor Timur and Genghis Khan. His grandson, Akbar the Great, endeavoured to establish a good relation with all religious groups throughout his empire and withdrew the jizya tax for non-Muslims. Under Akbar's rule, the empire tripled in size and wealth. Libraries and schools were built across the empire for both Muslims and Hindus. He appreciated the arts and culture and cultivated them throughout his empire.
Sounds like a good leader, rather than stamping out other people's religions, like letting everyone have their. And they were talking about the jizya, which is like a tax that Muslims are allowed to. If they was in charge of the country, they would tax people who weren't Muslim for having a different religion. That's what the jizya tax was about, apparently. So this guy says like he was good because he got rid of the jizya and he accepted all the religions in his area. That's the best. That's. I wish everyone should do that kind of thing. Everyone should be more accepting of other people. Sounds like he was ahead of his time.
Ushering in the Mughal style of architecture, which combined elements of Islamic, Persian, and Hindu design. The reign of Shah Jahan was the golden age of Mughal architecture. Perhaps the most profound and lasting monument was the Taj Mahal, which still attracts millions of tourists every year. In the early 18th century,
that is an impressive building.
The Mughal Empire sank into chaos and violent feuds, weakened by tension between the Hindu population and the Muslim ruling class, as well as invasions by the Afghans and other Indian rulers. The Maratha Empire capitalized on the struggling Mughals and expanded further and became the dominant power in the region. Meanwhile, the Portuguese, Dutch, Danish, French, and English had gradually established several forts and trading posts along the Indian coastline. The English East India Company was founded in 1600 but gathered greater power within India because of a private army and an imposing navy who gradually overwhelmed their European competitors. In 1757, the East India Company, under the leadership of Robert Clive, won victory against the Nawab of Bengal, which consolidated the company's power. Robert Clive amassed a personal fortune, but his actions and atrocities led to the deaths of millions of people, as he enforced the cultivation of non-food crops, which resulted in extreme famine. In 1760, the company had asserted.
So it wasn't even the government of England that was responsible. It was a private company. It's like even way back in 1760, the corporations were like doing their own thing and not caring about other people, as long as they're making money. This is what it sounds. I mean, I dare say they had the backing of the government and I don't know. I'm not sure. The East India Company would be a good thing to look at in the future, actually, because they were like a law unto themselves by the sounds of it. I mean, did they seek permission from the English government to do what they wanted to do, or did they just go and do what the hell they wanted? They figure they're halfway around the other side of the world. Who even knows what they're going to be up to? If they've got their own private army there. Interesting. I thought the English army were there like officially like from a government kind of thing, but it sounds like it's the East India Company doing what the heck they want. When I say that, East India Company is a company as in a business, isn't it? Rather than a company as in like a company of men, like an army company. Unless I'm mistaken, maybe it means an army company when they say the East India Company. I always thought it was a business, an organization, big business. Right, that was shocking. They're planting food that people can't eat and starving people.
Control over a vast quantity of the subcontinent through direct control or tributaries. They continued to expand over the following decades. They encountered resistance from the Sikhs, who had established an empire in the Punjab region. After the death of their Sikh leader, the empire was weakened by internal division, which enabled the British to conquer them following the Anglo-Sikh Wars. The East India Company managed to rule India due to large naval vessels, the introduction of steam trains, and the use of more advanced weapons. The British population was nowhere near the same size as India, so the British employed Indian infantry called sepoys, who were under the command of British officers. The sepoys were not treated well, receiving low pay, and were enforced to fight abroad. This fueled frustrations, but there were further upsets when the British banned child marriage and outlawed slavery, which were part of an Indian culture at the time. A rebellion began when the sepoys were issued with ammunition coated in pig and beef fat, which they...
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've read a book about that, like not an actual history book, but like a fictional book based in that period. And I'm not too sure if it was actually coated in anything, or if that was just propaganda used to stir up people. Because I kind of got the impression that they were saying to the Muslims, "Oh, it's covered in pig fat," and then to the Hindus, they're saying it's covered in beef fat, which is like not acceptable to those people. And I get a feeling, I don't know if it was covered in any fat at all, or I'm not sure how historically maybe it was covered in a mixture of both, but I don't know. But that was just stupid. If they actually did do that, because they had to bite the top of the bullet casing off, and I think it was gunpowder, like in little packets, and they have to bite the top off and then pour it into the guns and then put the bullet down. And obviously, if you can't put that in your mouth if it's got like beef or pork or things that you're not allowed to eat. So that was just. But I'm not too sure how much of that. How was it really done? Did they really put fat on it, or was it just that was what was said to stir up disharmony in the troops? I know they had a rebellion and like killed loads of English people there, but that's the stupid thing though. The English weren't there in that many numbers, and they were treating much larger population like crap. And they're going to you keep poking the wasp nest, you're going to get stung, aren't you? So yeah, I know a lot of them got killed.
They refused to use and deeply offended them, and they, amongst others, mutinied. The rebellion and mutiny failed, largely because there was little shared identity between Indians, and in 1857 the British Crown took direct rule of India, with Queen Victoria being declared Empress of India in 1876. During World War I, over 1 million Indians saw combat on the Western Front, the Mesopotamian Campaign, East Africa, Egypt, and Gallipoli, claiming the lives of 75,000 people. Shortly after the end of World War I, Gandhi, amongst other leaders, led Indians to challenge the British for independence, and during World War II, he called for the British to quit India. However, during World War II, as part of the Allied nations, over 2.5 million Indians volunteered to fight. In 1947, Britain granted independence. British India was partitioned into a Hindu-majority India and a Muslim-majority Pakistan. This period also saw one of the largest mass migrations ever recorded in modern history, with a total of around 15 million Hindus, Sikhs and Muslims moving between the newly created nations of India and Pakistan.
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of death on those as well. I heard there was a lot of, like a lot of people said that the partition was the worst thing that England or Britain could have done, and they did it badly, and it wasn't really well thought out, and like people died marching. And I've heard stories of like when people were marching to Pakistan, they were raiding villages for food and that, and they were being I don't know, killed by people as they went through towns, that kind of thing. I mean, I've not looked into it greatly, but I know that whole period of people transitioning to the partition places, there was a lot of death and a lot of turmoil and suffering during that period. I'm sure I remember reading that somewhere.
In 1971, East Pakistan was formed into the country of Bangladesh, and to this day, tensions between Pakistan and India remain tense. Today, India is the world's largest democracy with a rapidly growing economy, science and technology achievement.
Yeah, I think someone was telling me it wasn't until the partition that the animosity. You know, I think they were saying like before they, broke the country up into three countries: Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India. The tensions weren't so bad between people, but after that heightened tensions. It caused a lot of unrest between the Muslims and the Hindus. Someone told me that. I think I saw that in a comment somewhere. I can't remember where I saw that now. I heard that from, but I might have just read it in some other comment or some other video. But yeah, apparently that whole partition of the country was what led to a hell of a lot of the uncivility between Pakistan and India. They don't get on.
Are both ancient and modern. The Indian Space Research Organisation are currently sending missions to the moon and beyond, and are arguably one of the best countries in space exploration.
Okay.
The Indian film industry of Bollywood is one of the world's largest. Cricket has long been a passion for many Indians. India is also the birthplace of Hinduism, and many follow its practices throughout the world. India today and throughout history has a varied past. It is the 7th largest country by area and the 2nd largest country by population. It cannot be denied that India today has much to offer the world in the decades to come. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell notification, and see you next time.
Yeah, the link to that video is down below. Make sure, if you enjoyed that video, make sure you go and subscribe to that channel. Give them a thumbs up on that video as well. Maybe watch the whole video yourself again if you want to. But yeah, definitely go and sub them up. And yeah, go and watch some of their other videos. I'm sure I should watch more of their videos in the future. So yeah, that was interesting. That was 14 minutes of India. Maybe for after I cut out the advert, because I don't want to leave their advert on my channel. I'm not sure if it's worth it. But if you go to the original channel, you'll see the sponsor who sponsored the original video, and you can subscribe to that if you want to. Why not? If you're interested in learning more about these kind of things, then check that out. But anyway, yeah, that was cool. There's a few bits there I knew about India, a few bits I didn't know. So many empires. I knew there was such a long history, like the amount of wars that they had there, the way empires changed, and migration, and yeah, interesting stuff. And then of course we went there, and all the different other European countries went there, and then Britain got like more power because we had the bigger navy. Just took over the place and started. Yeah, but how much it was the company, the East India Company, and how much it was the actual country like authorizing it? I mean, it seems like there was a law unto themselves, and they could just do whatever they please. It seemed like. I mean, I don't know if that's correct or not. I'm sure they couldn't have done anything without being okayed by the government. But yeah, I'm not really sure about that. I mean, were they like paying taxes to the government, and so they basically said do what you want kind of thing? It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. Anyway, that was a little look at some Indian history with a few comments from me, which may or may not have been accurate. Don't quote me on any of this. Make sure you look it up yourself, because I'm only just going by my poor memory of like reading things here and there, And if you want to educate me, by all means, give me some comments, leave me some more information. Anything wasn't on the video that I would find interesting, let me know. And if you've got a country you want me to have a look at, find some videos for, and do reaction to their history, let me know, and I will try and find it. I might do a geography one as well about India. I've done a history and a geography one for Argentina. Maybe do a history and geography one for India as well. We shall see. We shall see. Whatever happens with this channel will happen. I'll be back another time with another video. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, subscribe. Hit the thumbs up if you like, leave a comment, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the chat or in the comments at some point. Bye for now.